Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Awa. Yet another session of Jabulani Football Network.
Good afternoon, True Lion. Good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Oh man, I'm fabulous. I had a long day yesterday. Believe me or not, I had to work on my air conditioning system, and I learned a lot.
Well, I had a long day as well, partying with friends. So I had a rough morning, but I'm okay.
Okay, yeah. So today we shall be talking about the FIFA. Okay, the Club World Cup, the
Yes,
criticisms,
yes.
the La
But
Liga. Yeah, go ahead.
some people haven't been happy.
Exactly, exactly. Especially the La Liga president,
Yes,
this is a
Mr.
statement he actually made, right? My goal is to ensure that there are no more club World Cups. We have to maintain the ecosystem and eliminate this. I mean, I understand he's the poster guy, right? Because
Mm,
I'm sure not only La Liga is unhappy about this, there are other, federations that are not happy about it, and they have used many different, things to talk negative about this competition. I mean,
yes.
what's your take when you see a statement like this?
Well, like that's a really funny statement, isn't it? Talking about the ecosystem, you know. Um, or our seminar video on the FIFA Club World Cup competition, we talked about FIFA finding a gap, an economic gap in the market that was an opportunity given to them due to the failures of the European Super League, and Mr. Tebas, is not happy because that space has been taken up by FIFA, and obviously the pot of money available to some of these leagues, has been, has been taken away by FIFA, you know. So the zone, for example, or other companies that have sponsored this competition, that's money that could have gone to maybe La Liga or some other European league, So in his place, I can see where he's coming from. In his place, I would also be unhappy. It doesn't affect leagues like the Premier League, but definitely would affect other leagues. Definitely.
Yeah, because I do understand that he's protecting his interests, right? And everybody tends to protect actually their own interests. He's not talking for global football. He's not talking for the African continent. He's not talking for the Oceania. So I do understand that. But they are using arguments like now that there are more games, all right, and that is affecting like the health of players. But if you look at this, if you look deeply into this, you will see that no, clubs like Real Madrid, Manchester City, Arsenal, I mean, these big European clubs, they
Mm.
have been having pre-season tournaments where they fly to Asia, they come to America. So they are the ones that have actually increased the number of games that these players actually play. And that argument is actually weak. It doesn't make sense, right?
It
Because
is,
they increase the number of games that these teams play. So it's not FIFA doing it.
yeah. I think what this would do is that most of the teams that have participated in this tournament might not do preseason tours because they would have generated a lot of money from this tournament. Now, the other argument um, that I have sampled across the continent is that some of the teams participating in this tournament would have a financial advantage. Take, for example, Premier League teams like Chelsea and Man City. They would generate income that would help them to overcome some of the difficulties around the spending, the PSR, the spending rules. So that gives them an edge, an advantage. But for me, again, that is still not a very strong argument because if you're saying that teams are going to generate income from playing the in the FIFA Club World Cup competition, well, teams that play in the Champions League do generate money that other teams that do not play in that competition do not generate. So it's just another tournament where you get rewarded for being a participant of that tournament. The other thing I would say, is this: is that if you look at the teams that have participated in this tournament, it kind of like some of these teams will always be here. They might always come to this competition, like PSG, like Bayern Munich, like Barcelona. Barcelona will be in this next time. I'm very sure. Real Madrid could always be in this competition. You know, Man City possibly could always be in this competition, at least for the time being, while Pep Guardiola is there. And if you go to Latin America, the Brazilian boys, you know, Palmeiras and Flamengo might always be coming back. You know, so it's kind of like the same teams, or the core of the teams that were to form the European Super League will always be coming to this competition. So that Super League issue, that European Super League issue, it's, you know, it's really a significant one, because those teams that I've just named, you know, are the core of those teams that were going to form that competition. So it will give them an advantage going forward in the long term. They will generate income from UEFA Champions League. They will generate income from this competition. But however, this competition will come every 4 years, so it's not every year, you know. So it's not as if that advantage is going to be there all the time, you know. So I get that argument, but it doesn't hold for me. It's a weak one.
Exactly, and not surprisingly, we are not seeing any criticism coming from like the African teams, because they will actually benefit from this. And just participating, each African team will make at least, you know, 9 million US dollars, which is more than what they actually make in the local continental competitions. And as they go, you know, wins carry, I think, 2 million, draw carries about a million. By the end of the tournament, I read somewhere that they will make, each team would at least make about 40 million US dollars, and that's huge for the African teams.
Well, it
However,
depends. It depends. We that will not make any extra money unless they could beat our in on their last playing day, and then they generate some more income from that. But yeah.
yeah, and talking about with that, remember we when we analyzed, I mean, we previewed the African teams for this competition. We That was one of the teams that we say we don't have faith in them because of the way their season actually started. I mean, watching the game today, how do you think we that actually express themselves? Because I see they have a good passing game, but defensively they are leaving spaces behind, and they are not also creating a lot of opportunities. I mean, it's a disappointing 1-4 loss for them today. I mean, what do you think about that?
Yeah, we did say, unfortunately for Wydad, coming into this tournament, they were not the strongest of the teams. They were the weakest team from the African continent of the four. And they had a very strong group with Man City and Juventus. And as we have seen, you know, they had a good game against Manchester City. If they had taken some of their chances, we might not be having this discussion, you know. So bad luck to them. Yes, they give away chances a lot to opponents, make mistakes, tactical mistakes, which I will put that down to lack of concentration and focus. Not that they're not technically aware or tactically disciplined. Sorry. Yeah, I just think it was too tough for them. It came too soon. Maybe they were not the right team to have come to this tournament.
Okay, and you see the way Amrabat is being used. I understand he actually had that assist for their only goal, but he's playing a more offensive role as opposed to what we are used to seeing, breaking plays and trying to connect defense with offense. I mean, what do you think about his performance? How?
Well, just to say, this Amrabat, this is the brother of Sofiane. This is not the central defensive midfielder. This is his brother. So he is playing in his right position. This Amrabat used to play for, I think it was AEK Athens. He used to play for AEK Athens before. So no, he is playing in his right position. I'm not sure that he had the impact that Wydad would have expected, but I think he's going to be a good signing for them going forward. Yeah, but I think he did his utmost, but it wasn't enough.
Okay, yeah, because he just joined the team, right? He just came
Yes,
to this team. He
yes,
has not even been, yeah, he just came from Asia. He has not even been there for a month.
yeah, yeah.
So,
He
okay,
was signed
so I
for
do.
this tournament. Yeah,
Okay, but that assist was actually was a very very good and the finishing was actually exceptional. But Juventus was just too much for them, and I think they played a better game against Manchester City when they lost 0 goals to 2.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That because Manchester City fielded a weakened team, so they really had that opportunity to have a go at Man City. They did have a go at Man City. They did create chances, but they did not take their chances, and which has been the perennial problem for African teams at international tournaments, both national teams and club sides. When they get to these tournaments, yeah, it's very difficult for them because they do not take chances. They do not take their chances.
Okay, good one. So they have been talking about attendance, right? Of course, we shall talk about the attendance, but I just want to show you this image of
Mhm.
the way that fans, the way they travel. Because I remember we talked about the participation of African teams and their
Mhm.
fans. Will the fans show up? But look at this. This is the Philadelphia Stadium, and keep in mind these stadiums, right? They are NFL style stadiums.
Mhm.
So the NFL normally in Philadelphia, even when it's very cold, you see 80,000 fans. But
Mhm.
just look at that image. I mean, what do you make of this?
I did warn you when we when we had that seminar session, didn't we, about the North African teams. Yes, their fans do travel well, and as soon as they flashed, they talked about the journalists. I wasn't seeing the images yet, but the journalist said there was smoke coming in from the flares on the other side of the pitch. I knew straight away because when you watch these guys, when you watch their league. Yesterday, I was watching MC Algiers play in the final game of the Algerian Professional League. It was the same. These guys lit up the place, and very often games have to be stopped.
I
So
mean,
I wasn't surprised. No, they've got very fantastic fans. Um,
it's wonderful. The culture is just wonderful. It's a good culture to portray out there for these African teams because I think
yeah,
it's some good actually PR for them. The emotion and the way they actually support their
well,
teams.
that is. I think every African team that is going to the AFCON in Morocco should be ready for that. They're gonna come. They're gonna come strong. The Moroccan fans.
Yep. So
Yeah.
another game we want to talk about is the game between Borussia Dortmund and Mamelodi Sundown yesterday. One of the best goals of the tournament was scored yesterday. Did you actually watch this game, and how do you think? Because Mamelodi Sundowns, they won their first game, so
Mhm.
this game against Borussia Dortmund is a game that we're all looking forward to.
Yeah.
How do you think they actually did?
Even though I was at an occasion, I was watching the game. And I got disappointed at some point when it became 4-1 because Mamelodi shouldn't lose that game. They gifted those goals to Borussia Dortmund. You know, simple little. If you look at all those Borussia Dortmund goals, there's only one goal that Borussia Dortmund made from good play. You know, the rest is little mistakes being made by players here and there. Mamelodi should have at least taken away a draw from that game, a point from that game. But I tell you what, Fluminense is going to have their work cut out. I tell you, Mamelodi is going to go for Fluminense. I am very positive. I think that Mamelodi will beat Fluminense. I sincerely do. I sincerely do. Because you add 10 minutes to that game yesterday, Mamelodi could have equalized against Borussia Dortmund. I think they've given a very good account of themselves, and that's what we expected, and rightly so, from Borussia Dortmund. From
Yeah,
Mamelodi Sundowns.
yeah, because it's not about wins all the time, or it's how you actually uh, I mean, how you actually play the game and express yourself, right?
Mhm.
But when I saw the way Mamelodi Sundown played against the South Korean team or San, I think they actually were fortunate because the South Korean team created lots of opportunities, and I saw that Mamelodi Sundown, they play a very dangerous type of game where they throw a lot of men up front and sometimes they leave their backyard open. That's why Borussia Dortmund could actually go up 4-1 and then they threw more people up front, that brilliant goal, and we saw the comeback. But I think Mamelodi Sundowns, if any African team goes through the group stages, I think Mamelodi Sundowns is the team that can go actually through the
Yeah,
group stages.
yeah. I think, like we said at the start, Chelsea is not going to have it all their own way against Esperance of Tunis either. So going back to the Mamelodi Sundown opening game, I think the opening game is always tricky, because it kind of lays the foundation for your tournament. Most teams do not like losing the opening game, and so you have to take your chances. I don't think Mamelodi will play against Fluminense like they played the first two games. They should play differently, and they will play differently. I think, yes, Mamelodi will always look to keep possession. They would always look to attack you, and I think they will attack Fluminense. And I think they stand a lot. They stand a significant chance to go through against Fluminense. It's just for us to wait and see how that pans out, really. And something I've just got to add, I have seen on some podcasts I listen to, I think people are making a mistake on this tournament. This tournament, the first thing that is considered for qualification is head to head. It's not goal difference. It's head to head. First, only after that will they consider goals. And that makes the group of PSG very complicated, because Botafogo has beaten PSG. PSG has beaten Atletico Madrid. Atletico Madrid could go and beat Botafogo, and then we have a situation where each and every one of them on a head-to-head has beaten the other person, and then it's going to go down to goal difference. So, and I also, someone was saying, because someone said, because Botafogo has +2 and Atletico Madrid has -2, Atletico needs to beat Botafogo 5. Or no, people forget. I don't know how people calculating arithmetics or maths. Every goal that Atletico Madrid scores affects the goal difference for Botafogo. So if Botafogo has +2, Atletico scores 1, it becomes -1 for Atletico and +1 for Botafogo. If Atletico Madrid scores a second one, it becomes even straight away. So they don't need to score 5 like some people are saying. No, just 2-0 on a
Would be
head-to-head.
enough. Mhm.
Atletico Madrid goes up ahead. So this group is going to cause a lot of confusion, But anyway, I'm not sure if Atletico Madrid. But the other thing, if you remember, I said it too. Even though people talk a lot about Palmeiras, I did say this at the start. Flamengo is the best team in Latin America now. They might not be winning competitions, but I watch the Brazilian league religiously, and Copa Libertadores and Copa Sudamericana. I've done that for the last 5 years. Flamengo do not win competitions, but when it comes down to pure football, playing football, Flamengo is the best team in Latin America at the moment. And their manager, Luis Felipe, I think you might remember, I did say something about in our football chat group about the tactical dispositions that Felipe uses. Felipe sometimes play 4-2-4 like they've played, that they used to play in 1982. 2 wingers, a 9 and a 10, and an 8 and a 6. 4-2-4. I have seen him play that. He plays 4-2-4. He
And
plays
that guy,
4-4-2. He plays every sort of tactic that you can think of. And when I saw his team selection yesterday, I was like, wow. Gonzalo Plata, who is a winger and used to play for Valladolid, he's an Ecuadorian. Gonzalo Plata was playing as a center forward. There was a reason he did that, because he is a very rapid guy. He's not a center forward normally. So when I saw the lineup yesterday, I was like, wow, what is he doing? And that's the
and
only
that
thing I
guy,
could think about to make Chelsea run around.
and this Felipe, is he not just 9 years old? When did he actually retire football? I mean, they're having some
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
yeah.
He's a young guy. He only retired, I think, 3 seasons ago. And the thing is, when you go back and you watch, I think he was playing just 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons
Yeah.
ago. He
Mm-hmm.
was still playing for the Brasileiro Serie A. So, yeah. I think
Yes, I
our
was.
African boys do have a chance. Mamelodi does have a chance.
Yeah, the only team I'm disappointed with is I think Alakli. As I said,
Alaphilippe,
yeah, as I said, that
Alaphilippe
first
again.
game, against Miami, Inter Miami, that first game, they lost a lot of opportunities in the first half, and
Yeah,
then they were not able to react. I'm telling, like, tactically, they got some deficiencies because they were
yeah,
not able to react when Miami actually changed their tactics.
yeah.
And
And they could go and surprise Porto, but the issue there for me for Porto and Alaphilippe is that the bromance between Lionel Messi and FIFA is going to carry on. I just think Inter Miami and the Palmeiras are going to play out a draw.
I saw the comment you made about that free kick. You know that it wasn't a foul. You said Lionel Messi actually
Lionel Messi
jumped.
jumped on this guy, but I tell you what, everybody knew it when that free kick was put on that spot. That ball is going to end up in the back of the. It was like a penalty. You know, everyone knew what was going to happen.
Yeah,
It was a gift.
it's
You pass the
difficult to
ball and
defend.
jump on a defender's back, and the referee gives a free kick.
It was like
I
a
was like,
blocking foul. It was like a
I was
blocking
like,
foul.
blocking foul. Where was he running to? Where was he going to? The
But
defender was standing there. The defender was standing there.
yeah, it was like a
Yeah.
blocking foul. But
Anyway,
they give. It's an advantage that they give, but still, we expect you to be able to defend that. It's
anyway,
difficult. It's difficult.
at
Yeah.
least we see these things in competitions that the host nation, the host nation or some team somewhere is going to go to the next round just to keep the people happy.
Okay. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about. I want to talk a little bit about the attendance, okay, because it's been an issue. There's a lot of critics. I mean, those who are hard on this competition, the criticism is out there. But when you look at the numbers, right, I do understand that there have been some ticket slices and all that, but Real Madrid is actually playing Pachuca today in Charlotte, and I had an opportunity because I was looking at tickets maybe to buy on the same day and all that, but I went to the website Ticketmaster, one of the websites where these tickets are sold, and the prices were not going down for the Real Madrid Pachuca game. And
Well,
believe me, it's gonna be almost like 94% full, like the Inter Miami game you saw against Al Ahly, and the prices have not gone down. The prices for the nosebleed, which is like the highest in the 500s, it's about $100 per
I
ticket.
think I think what you would see with this True Lion is that if Kylian Mbappe is there today,
He's not
and
playing.
I think they said that he could feature. I do not
Okay.
know. I
Mhm.
do not know, but he has been back with the squad. Um, I'm not sure. They said that he could feature at some stage. Then yeah, you would expect this to be a full one. And I think Pachuca is one of the best teams in Central America, and so there's going to be a lot of people coming over from Mexico to watch this.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like,
you
yeah,
know,
because Pachuca, a lot of Mexicans, they support more like Real Madrid. They have a lot of Real Madrid connection. And then Pachuca, as you also said, is has a huge Mexican fan base here in America. And Charlotte also is a football city. They break the record 3 years ago when they opened Charlotte FC, actually started here. So
mhm.
they have a huge fan base here. So I'm not surprised if we see numbers like the game Inter Miami against Al Ahly, where the field was 94% full. But what do you make about these numbers? I understand the Chelsea game as one of the least games. I mean,
this
with the least
this
attendance.
is the attendance is only going to get better. I think because as the competition narrows down, um, the games are going to be starting later in the day. I think people were saying it was unsuccessful. It will be because the attendance is low. What do you expect people to do if a game is starting at 3 o'clock? People are still at work. People are still at
Exactly,
work.
exactly. And
So as the competition goes further, I think that the game times are going to change and the attendances are going to go up. Look, it's just criticism for criticism's sake. You, the numbers are good, the attendances will be good, and it's been a successful tournament.
yeah, I do agree with you. And also, don't forget the Gold Cup. The Gold Cup is also going. So it's like two different football competitions here in America competing for fans. And the heat wave also, as you just said, the heat
Hmm.
wave is, I mean, this morning I went out, it was about 90 something degrees,
Yeah,
and if
and
you're
that
playing in such weather.
that's one of the criticisms as well that was levied on this tournament. The fact that you had the Gold Cup that was going on, and this is going to affect it and stuff like that. But there's so many people around. People have options. You know, People have options to go to the USA game, to go to the Mexico game, or to go to the Club World Cup game. It's fun. People should just enjoy themselves. You know.
Yep. Okay, this is what I want to read a comment from Gianni Infantino. He was being questioned about this tournament. He says, "We are writing history here in North America. For the first time in history, the 32 best clubs in the world will compete in a tournament to determine finally who's the best in the world when it comes to club
I
football."
don't think these are the 32 best clubs in the world. He should not be saying that. He should say it right, in the right way. The 32 best teams in the world in the last 4 years. Because if you're saying now the 32 best teams in the world now, you should have Liverpool and Barcelona in there. Definitely. You should have Liverpool and Barcelona in there. And in England, as much as I'm a Tottenham fan, Arsenal is one of the better teams in England at the moment. Liverpool, you go to Italy, Napoli should be in there as well. So I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think those are the best teams in Morocco. Actually, in the last 2 seasons, Renaissance Berkane and Far of Rabat have been the better sides in Morocco. So, and again, if you look at it continentally, Simba is way ahead of Wydad Casablanca. So I would say all those teams that went to the semi-finals of the African Champions League tournament. So yes,
Okay.
these are the best teams for the last 4 years, but to say they're the best teams in the world now, I would disagree.
Okay. Yeah, but we do understand that they had a format that was going the period of 4 years that they follow, and also in order to try to improve football globally in many different years. Because he was asked also specifically why the teams like Barcelona, why is Barcelona not there, and he said that countries also have a cap. 2 teams from each country. I mean, there's a cap, right? So if Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid, who had better positions, a point-based position than Barcelona, that's why maybe Barcelona was not this year. He also said that. It's a test run for the World Cup, right? There's been almost 1.5 million tickets sold so far. We saw huge crowds. We talked about it in Miami and also in Pasadena, California. We saw huge crowd. So he's also saying that this is a test run for next year's World Cup. So the mistakes that will be made now, as according to maybe schedules, it
Logistics.
can be corrected. Exactly.
Yeah, tournament logistics. And again, this is what we said previously, True Lion, that while people focused on the exposure of players, I did say to you that teams like Mamelodi, Al Ahly, that form the bulk of their national side, will use this as a way of acclimatizing, because the next World Cup is in America, to get an understanding of it, experience football at this level. For some of those players who haven't played at this level before, it would help them a lot when they do come to the World Cup. At least that stage fright won't be there anymore. I've been here before, I'm doing it again. So it is good for them. It is good for those teams. Yes, we were going to talk about the effects on Africa, the criticism from Africa's perspective, aren't we?
Yes, of course. And I mean, yeah, rarely any type of any official criticism from Africa, because when you do see financially, this will be a big boost to many of the clubs. However, if you want to talk about some negative points like coming from Africa, you all talk about maybe travel, right? The distance, from Africa to the United States, and maybe fans able to afford, these long journeys. I mean, those are a few criticisms, which for me,
well, I have
yeah,
a different take on it. So there is a lot of positives in terms of how this tournament could affect African football, especially when it comes to the distribution of the FIFA Solidarity Fund, 250 million US dollars. Now, it is that pot of money which FIFA says, or which some analysts have said, is going to go a long way to ease the criticisms from some clubs of Europe about how the financial gains by other clubs at this tournament will affect them. So in terms of Africa per se, remember, this tournament is being played in June over July. Guess what had to happen for this tournament to take place? AFCON had to be moved to December.
To December, yeah.
So
Schedule.
AFCON was rescheduled because of this Club FIFA World Cup competition. Again, Africa is letting itself being moved all over the place by FIFA and other times by European clubs. This is not good. This is not good stuff. But anyway, guess which clubs have benefited the most? Not African clubs. So it's not really a problem, but it's a problem. Let's look at how this affects Africans. Now, you were going to travel to Morocco to watch the AFCON in June over July. Now you're going to be traveling to Morocco to watch the AFCON over December. Guess what that does to your pocket? The air tickets in December are almost twice as expensive as they would have been now. So if you were going to go to Morocco from Cameroon and your ticket was going to cost you 1 million francs CFA, if you're not careful, your ticket could hit anything like 2 million CFA, 2 million francs CFA, or more. Hotel rooms are more expensive over December. Traveling in December can be very chaotic. Traveling within the African continent is not easy by air. It's not easy. So getting on those flights will not be easy for those traveling within the continent of Africa. So I think from that perspective, diasporans will benefit from that. So the only way Africans can deal with this is to get their bookings done early enough, get their flight tickets early enough. From those of us who might want to go, who are traveling from Europe, that will not be a problem. But yes, ticket prices will still be more expensive. Hotels will still be more expensive. So I think African fans have been dealt a big blow. And who's going to benefit from this? The North African countries, because they've got a lesser journey to cover. Some of them might just travel on road from one country to the next. Arrive the day before the game, watch the game, go back to their countries. But when you talk about people traveling from Tanzania, traveling from South Africa, traveling from Cameroon, from sub-Saharan Africa going into North Africa, it's not going to be easy financially for people. So CAF has really dealt African football fans a big blow here
but there's also
by rescheduling AFCON.
Yeah, but there's also that argument, especially when I look at the last AFCON in Ivory Coast. It was always a problem with traveling, right? Because the routes, first of all, in Africa is not that easy, right? There are just that many flights. However, for the Morocco 2025, I think most fans will come like from Europe and from the diaspora, as you actually said it, because going to Morocco is actually easy, especially also here from the United States. It's not that big of a problem. But now you shall be challenging, I suppose, okay, you had to go maybe for vacation in Cameroon and then go to Morocco. So it's going to be maybe additional, traveling hours or traveling days added onto your schedule. So December is not actually really a good period. The schedule actually doesn't favor the fans because December it's usually that period where we want to go spend holidays with family and not necessarily go to football games. So yes, I do agree with you on that basis.
Yes, so like you rightly say, but yes, people from the diaspora in Europe would find it easier to travel, but will they? Will they?
Yes,
people
they will go.
People will always go, but in what numbers? This is what I'm saying. In what numbers as compared to those on the continent who would have loved to go to this tournament? And it's being played over Christmas when people like to spend time with their family members and not going to be watching football.
Yeah.
It's going to have a downside. I do hope that CAF is able to overcome that in terms of ticket sales. But like I said, this will work in favor of the Maghreb countries. Not that it
Yeah,
changes a
but
lot. Not that it changes a lot because, like I said before, I don't think that trophy is going to leave the Maghreb area anyway.
yeah, well, maybe Cameroon is always fun. It's always fun of going to take trophies in the Maghreb. In the Maghreb,
Mm.
last
True,
last time they took it in Morocco, right?
true,
88.
true, true, true. It can happen. You never know.
Very
It can
unpredictable
happen. It can happen.
team.
It can happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can
So
happen.
yeah, but so as I said, normally even in Morocco, right? I mean, in Ivory Coast for the last African Cup of Nations, we didn't see a lot of fans traveling as they might like to. So that might not really affect playing the World Cup in December in Morocco might not really affect like local fans, local to the African continent, as opposed to fans coming out from the diaspora, which I think because Morocco is already a big touristic destination for Africans here in the diaspora. So it will just
Mhm.
give them, the African Cup of Nations will just give them another reason to go to Morocco during that period.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Just to say, as we were talking, Real Madrid has had a red card, so it's not getting any easier for them.
Oh yeah, and this Latin American teams or Central American, North American teams, they are physical. So if Real
Mhm.
Madrid is having a record, Real Madrid will need to play Pachuca because Pachuca is looking at you.
Yeah,
We are playing Real Madrid. For them, it's a final,
yeah,
And believe me, I need to see the attendance. That number is gonna be high according to attendance because what I've seen, tickets not going down, people not slashing the prices of FIFA not slashing the prices of the ticket. I think that's gonna be a huge attendance.
yeah.
So we were talking about experience. Who do they actually experience to Tunis? Who did they actually play next? And what do you think
Chelsea,
about? So they play
Chelsea.
Chelsea next.
Esperance is playing Chelsea, and again, we during our seminar report on this tournament, we talked about the teams that have a chance of going through, and I did say that Esperance were underdogs, but they could hurt someone seriously. Now, Chelsea needs a win. Esperance needs a win. Somebody's gonna dead on that day. Yeah, anything can happen,
Yeah,
and they play at 2 a.m. in the morning. I would like to say that Esperance has a chance. Esperance players are this weather, the temperatures. They are used to playing in such temperatures, so don't be surprised to see that Esperance can nick a 1-0 win against Chelsea. Obviously,
man.
Chelsea are favourites going into that game, but this is a young Chelsea team, you know, and Esperance has got experienced players. They can put pressure on Chelsea. They can put
Yeah,
pressure on Chelsea. Anything can happen. They have a chance.
I, I'm talking about a young Chelsea team. What do you make of the disciplinary issues of Nicholas Jackson and the criticism coming from a legend, African football legend, Mikel Obi?
Oh,
Obi has been very critical of this guy since this guy actually moved to Chelsea. I mean, what's the issue there? Can he
Obi
not
Obi
just tone it
Obi
down a little
Maker
bit?
Obi Maker should just register himself as a FIFA agent or intermediary and work for with Osimhen. I think he doesn't get he cannot get over the fact that Osimhen cannot come to Chelsea. You know, yes, it's just a simple mistake. It's a mistake. Players make errors. Players make bad judgments. It's not as if he went to broke the player's leg. You know, it's just a mistake. That's it. Simple mistake. And it's an excuse from a former Chelsea player that because he had the red card, Chelsea was beaten. Come on, they were going to beat
Yeah.
Chelsea anyway. They were
And
going to beat Chelsea anyway.
let me take it another notch. Don't you find it like strange, right? Because there's just African connection. There's that brotherly connection. I understand he's a Chelsea legend. I understand he has a podcast. He wants to, as you say, promote maybe Oshimen going to Chelsea. But for what Nicholas Jackson has been doing to Chelsea, don't you see it unfair? Because you look like a guy like Palmer. What has Palmer been doing for the last 20 games?
Well,
Palmer has scored only one goal, so
well,
he doesn't
I
have
think,
come with the same energy to criticize Palmer. But when it comes to Nicholas Jackson, you see all that energy. Where is that coming from?
I think, I think, like I said, he just doesn't like Nicholas Jackson for some reason. And I think you watched Chelsea's first game. Nicholas Jackson was superb. Some of the actions he took, he is technically a very good footballer. I think he is technically better than Osimhen, but Osimhen is a better finisher. You know, um, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what his issue is with Nicholas Jackson. When Nicholas Jackson doesn't play for Chelsea, Chelsea struggles. We all saw that last season when Nicola Jackson wasn't playing. There was no outlet for Chelsea whatsoever. No one up front moving, no one to hold the ball, no one to link up play. So yes, they've got a different striker now in Delap, but Delap is a different kind of centre forward. What Chelsea has been doing over the years is to look for somebody that would play in the same way like Didier Drogba did for Chelsea. Somebody that would terrorize defenders. And Nicholas Jackson will get to that point. Whether it will be with Chelsea, I do not know, but he has a long contract with Chelsea. And I think he is going to remain Chelsea's main man, whether Delap is there or not. It doesn't matter. Nicholas Jackson will remain. He better get that in his head, Mr. Obi Mikel. Nicholas Jackson is Chelsea's 9. He's not going anywhere. He will be their main man. He will lead Chelsea's attack throughout the season.
Yeah, because I just think that criticism is just too much. It doesn't make sense anymore. Sometimes
it doesn't make sense. But like you said, when you're in the media, you start talking in certain ways and using certain words and parameters to. That's what these pundits do, isn't it? But to call it to call it stupid, keep using the word stupid. It's like it's over the top. I didn't like it at all, and it's making me not like Mikel anymore because I used to like Mikel. As a footballer, I always liked Obi Mikel's simple football. He was, for me, one of the best midfielders from Africa. Whether people liked it or not, I loved Obi Mikel as a footballer. But the way he's been going on Nicholas Jackson, I don't appreciate it at all. No.
Yeah, because for me, it's actually a little bit over the top because I don't see the same energy when it comes to Palmer. He's never had the same energy or try to criticize Palmer when it comes to Palmer, But
Palmer's not been playing for like 4 months. He's just making up the numbers.
I remember we had that conversation, right? When people were saying, "Oh, Manchester City has let one gun," and they were trying to compare him. I understand. What's the guy's name? The playmaker, the English guy, to Foden. I said, okay, let's wait and see. When it comes to carrying a team, let's wait and see what will happen. So sometimes fans just get too emotional and they pick a scapegoat, and I think Nicholas Jackson is a scapegoat for that team. But we have seen that when he doesn't play, sometimes Palmer actually struggles. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it about Nicholas Jackson. We just hope that fans and these legends can see what he brings to the team and maybe give him the support that is needed, because it's also like a psychological thing, right? So we are now moving on to Mamelodi Sundowns. Their chances, we know they got beat by Borussia Dortmund, but they won their first game against the South Korean team, and they have one more game to go. If they win that game, they will guarantee moving over to the second round. I mean, what are their chances, in your opinion?
Yes. Sorry about that. Mamelodi Sundowns has a chance here. I think Mamelodi Sundowns could eliminate Fluminense. Obviously, Fluminense will be favorites going into this game, but I think the way Mamelodi Sundowns plays, they should be careful. I wouldn't be surprised that Mamelodi Sundowns could go and nick this one and qualify for the next round. I'm actually very positive about this. I do really think that Mamelodi and Esperance are going to do something. I'm telling you, I have faith in Mamelodi Sundowns. These are international. Pardon me. These are international players, so they're going to give it their all. They're going to give Fluminense a run for their money.
Yeah, and I do think they have some incredible players. The left back and some of their defenders. That left back, I saw him play against the way he did against. I understand it's Inter Miami, but the way he played against Inter Miami, he's like a lockdown defender. My only worries is the number of players that they actually throw up front, when attacking. They want to play that type of attacking football. And I think they are not as physical. Maybe a team coming from Africa, I think they are not as physical. But that's the way Mamelodi Sundown actually wants to play. And looking at their ownership, I know we did talk about the Motsepes. I went online, just to see if I can get a Mamelodi Sundowns jersey, and it's I mean, the prices, right? It's as competitive as you're getting a European, a Real Madrid, jersey, and you have the Ubuntu. I think they wear. I've forgotten the name of who they actually advertise on their Boto. It says Boto Ubuntu, something like that. Boto,
Mm.
yeah, it says Boto something. I actually forgotten the exact words, but I like the colors because they have that yellow, they have the green. I like their colors and all that. But the way the Motsepe family has actually managed this team, their business module, him being close to the FIFA guy, because when you talk about the schedule of Africa being adjusted to accommodate this Club World Cup, that it's Gianni Infantino and Motsepe actually working together.
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
tell me, is this good for African football? I'm talking from an ownership point of view because we are seeing these clubs making a killing.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if it changes anything in terms of. Again, this is. I don't want to talk about this point specifically about Africa because one of the criticisms from some analysts is that the teams that are participating at this tournament would only consolidate their positions in their various leagues. I think this is more so for the African teams than for the teams from all the other continents because our models of football management are different from the European models. We depend on people actually putting in their money, personal money, investing in clubs. But then now you have these teams from Africa that will benefit from this financial windfall and would only go on to further consolidate their positions. For Mamelodi Sundowns, they're already owned by a billionaire, so it doesn't change a lot for them, you know. But when you look at a team like Wydad Casablanca that was struggling financially at the start of this season, Wydad can go out and sign three very good players from sub-Saharan Africa, and change that team and change the fortunes of that team. So it will help them and that will put them in a position to be able to come back to the next tournament, or to perform better on the continent. Alakli, will it change much for Alakli? I do not know. I do not know. But Alakli is now, from being in this tournament, I do not know if it puts them in a better place going back to fight for the title or if it's going to affect them when they go back in terms of fatigue. I do not know because
Okay.
Pyramids is chasing them. Um, in terms of Esperance are leading in Tunisia, so that will not affect them much, So I think these African teams would benefit from it, and I think all the other clubs in Africa that will receive some funding from this tournament, it will go a long way to help them. I do hope that some of this money goes into those countries that are actually investing in football, like the Democratic Republic of Congo, like Tanzania, you know, Namibia, all of those countries in South Africa and Eastern Africa, help them to develop their club football. I don't even want to think about Cameroon because I'm not sure how that is going to help the teams in Cameroon apart from enriching or lining the pockets of individuals. If any money needs to go to Cameroon, it needs to be managed from FIFA. You know, show me
Yeah, but
what you've been doing with the other money. We'll give you this money in drips. We'll give you the money. You go and do something. You bring the results. You show us the results. We top it up. You go and do some more work. We top it up. Because otherwise, you're going to give a team 200 million, and the next thing you know is the president of the club has bought himself a Mercedes Benz, or he's drinking champagne in the nightclub. You know,
yeah, I
those
think
things.
the case of Cameroon is just like a cancer, and we keep talking about it's just like a tumor, right? And we keep talking about it. If we don't have a change of mindset, if we don't work together, I'm talking about local governments working together with Fika Food in order to give like the right, I mean, facilities that teams. It's not about just building stadiums that elephant capacity stadiums that teams don't use, but building the right capacity, small pitches that kids can use all over the place, right? So if you're not looking into one direction, then when tournaments like this come around, when money is being distributed, we shall be nowhere to be found. We cannot even benefit from it, right? And we just need to change our mindset, because I believe it's a change of mindset. Even the fans, because I see what's going on in different social media space when they are talking about Cameroon football. I see that we have a long way to go. So that's why for me, as a person, it was easy to say that football in Cameroon will not change, even with the coming of Samuel Eto'o, because these guys are still not in the right mindset in order to be progressive. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, I think we should round up with the recent incident with between Fecafoot and Samuel Eto'o, money transfers from Russia, isn't it?
Oh yes, yes, we can talk about that. Yeah. So I will go ahead and let you start with that. And well, because I did do some good research about it, and there are many unanswered questions. Some people are already like running away with it, but we should actually be careful, because if you don't have all the cards, if you don't know have all the information, you cannot talk if it's money laundering, you cannot talk if it's embezzlement, you cannot talk. I mean, whatever the case, until you have all the pieces, you can only draw. I understand in football, the court of public opinion is where everything starts. Okay, until until those who are in charge, of the game
Yeah.
actually come and say something about it. So I would like to start with you. What's your
I
take on
think
that?
yes. I think people are rushing to make conclusions. I think for me so far, from all the information we have so far, what I would just simply say is it doesn't look professional. It doesn't look good that we have that situation where money is being transferred possibly into someone's um, personal account as opposed to the federation's account. Um, we do not know the circumstances of it. I think if you remember in our group chat, when as soon as that came up, I said the only reason I could think about this issue would be the sanctions against Russia and international payments, and you know, um, but that even then, that still it doesn't look professional at all. And I think it's
Yeah,
something that it will be interesting to see how this one pans out. Cameroon is a funny place. You can see documents come up. You never know where these documents are from. Are they genuine documents? You know, you,
yeah.
you just
It's
don't know
actually
with you just don't know with things on social media these days.
yeah, but the source of this information actually came from Jeune Afrique. Okay, so the rumor started with Jeune Afrique. Jeune Afrique is the one that's leaked out these documents. Of course, there must be someone in Fecafoot that gave them access to these documents. I don't see Fecafoot denying the documents. I've listened to some live. I've followed different sources on social media. So it seems to be the signature of Bernard Angua, who actually resigned from Fecafoot. Of course, as you said, it's a red flag. But talking about the SWIFT sanctions against Russia, I tried to do some research on that. When there are sanctions on Russia, right, it's about huge amount of money between, let's say, the EU, United States, and against Russia. But there's still room for some Russian banks to do businesses at a low level, because how much is it? We're talking about 400,000 US dollars or 500,000 US dollars. So that's not big. When you
Mm.
look at the friendly that Cameroon played against Russia, it was sanctioned by FIFA. When I say sanctioned by FIFA, what does that mean? It means that is FIFA recognizes that game. Okay, and Cameroon is not the only team. Russia has played with against Nigeria. They've played with Senegal, and they've played with Serbia. And my question was, how did Russia pay these other federations? Now, FIFA also has a local banking system. So all of their accredited friendlies, you can also negotiate with FIFA to facilitate payments.
That's the
So
first thing that came to mind. Like, could FIFA not help with this situation? But like I
exactly.
said, there's a lot of questions to answer. Um, And the most important thing, I think, for me, is the unprofessionalism. The unprofessionalism, um, because if the money ends up at Faker Food, all fine. So just because money is paid into someone's account doesn't mean that the money has been embezzled or something.
Yeah,
So
it's not. It's the money is not embezzled, but ethics.
yeah,
You should never. Yeah,
which is why I say for me is the professionalism.
yeah,
It's not.
yeah.
It doesn't look. It doesn't look good. It doesn't look
Yeah,
good.
ethically it's wrong, and that's why
Mm.
sometimes I say when you move onto a player, you've been playing football, you move onto an administrative role, you should surround yourself with people who administratively know what they are doing. Because how will one of the arguments, because one of the arguments that's coming from the ESCO executive figure foot is that they give Samuel Oto the authority to do such a transaction. How will an executive do say such a thing that they give someone to the authority to transfer money into his account? So, are you guys telling me that there's nowhere in the executive bureau, there are no lawyers in there that can say ethically this is wrong, and that we do have bylaws that say you cannot transfer money into personal accounts? I mean, how will they do such a thing? But that's what happens when you have a bunch of yes sir around you, giving you ideas on how to run football. That's the last statement I'll say. What can you say to conclude this edition?
Well, we've got a week to look into it again and see what we come up with.
Okay, so
Brilliant. So
that's it.
I can't wait to watch Esperance and Chelsea, and Fluminense and Mamelodi Sundowns. I think both games are on the same day.
Yes, exactly. And for
Yeah.
those who have not been watching these games, if you want to watch, all you have to do is register for free. DAZN, again, it's spelled, the website is dazn.com. You go register for free, DAZN, and you can watch all games, on your computer, on your phones, you can watch all these games. So no matter where you are, FIFA has made it possible for you to be able to watch these games.
And for those of you who want to go to the AFCON, buy your tickets now. Don't wait, because December is going to be very expensive. Luckily for some of us who live in the UK, if you want to go,
€400.
flights from UK to France don't cost up to £300. If you're lucky,
And
you can
then
get tickets for 150.
you can you,
So,
you can just go down to Spain. And anyway, so any last words, Mr. Wa?
no last words for me. Looking forward to the week. That's it, really. Watch African football. The Tanzanian league is heating up. Big game coming up between young Africans and Simba to determine champions of the year. MC Arges were crowned champions of the Algerian Professional League yesterday. So there's a lot of football still being played on the continent. I think Renaissance Bekane is playing now against Maghreb Tetouan, semi-finals of the Coupe de la Trône, which is the Moroccan FA Cup. So there are games. So immediately after this, I'm going to Morocco. I'm not going to watch Real Madrid. No, I'm going to watch Renaissance Bekane. So watch African football. There's a lot of football out there to be watching. Beautiful football as well.
Exactly. So stay tuned, guys. JFN, the African perspective, brings you African football. We need to watch African football. Okay. And we expect you guys to share, comment. Let's get interactive. You share, you comment. We got the YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe, follow us so that we can give you and bring to you football hot topics every week. Thank you once more.
We're coming to our second month this week. This month, isn't it? This week. So we'll be able to start going live on our Facebook page. Can't wait for that.
Yes, sir. That's very true.
Have a good one.
Okay. Thank you.
Bye-bye.